All right, good afternoon. Welcome back here to Trader Minute. Great to have you aboard. I am jumping on just a little bit early here, but the video recording should be ready to go by the normal time. But jumping on just a little bit early here due to a personal circumstance that I need to attend to. But let's go out and do it because the reality is not much is going to change in the next 20 minutes. So I don't feel like I'm kind of risking any decisions by making decisions now versus 20 minutes. If something does happen, I will come back and adjust. But we have two new signals on the board here today. We have IBM, which is a bullish signal, and then we have Visa. Or excuse me, Visa. I have Visa on the brain. We have Pepsi. Which is a bearish signal out there here today. We don't see many of these in this type of market environment simply because the algorithm is tighter on the bearish side and for good reason. But we do see those two signals here today. Now, I can't trade either of them with what's going on out there because my cash is tied up. Right, and we'll see that here shortly. But you can see IBM here today, has kind of this higher low element coming into play. Nice little 3-7 crossover here, move above the 20-day moving average. Doesn't quite have that Stoke 39-1 up over 50 like I'd like to see, but, it has everything else that, it has everything in the algorithm, right? That's just one of the visual, components. And so is signaling higher. We also then have Pepsi, which is signaling lower. Now, this thing has been consolidating now for a while. We haven't seen it, drive that many signals through this consolidation. In fact, during the course of this challenge, you can see there are no Pepsi signals at all. And that has been, spot on with how the stock has moved, as it's basically since September 9th, it's gone nowhere, right? But is getting a downside signal today with the downside 3-7 cross on that. Interesting to look across the sector. You look at Coke and, it's got a kind of having a rough day here today, but it's not setting a bearish signal the way Pepsi is. Procter & Gamble, this may be one of the worst days for Procter & Gamble since, the end of last year. It's taking it on the chin here today. So we're seeing some weakness within that space. We're seeing some of the upside crossovers from last week, like Under Armour, gap on down here today with obvious news there. And then we see, something like a GOLD, which is a gold miner, does have that downside 3-7 cross, but is not triggering, getting kind of the same read as the other downside crossovers. Yeah, it's not all that strong, but it's also not all that weak to expect that monster trend to really come into play. All right, so those are the signals on the board here. Here today, we have some big upside in some of the energy space. Schlumberger, Chevron, they both have upside 3-7 crossovers on monster moves here today, but the moves are more than two average true ranges, so they're not going to qualify as a signal. We did see a signal in the energy space on Friday with EOG Resources, and it was one where we had Disney, EOG, and CSX. Now, I went with CSX because CSX didn't have earnings priced into it, where EOG and Disney both did. So, anyway, those are some of the upside crossovers that are out there. Now, speaking of the challenge trades that we have on the board, we have CSX and we have Netflix. Now, as they sit, neither needs any adjusting. Let me go fill in the pricing here on them. 305 for CSX and 1520. So 305 and 1520. All right, so that puts the challenge up over 4,200. The high watermark for the challenge here so far. We did push above 4,000 briefly last week, and then went back under 3,000. Now we're popped back up over 4,000. And, Netflix sitting there trading, let me pull it up, show you, trading here at $294. It still has about $8-9 to go to hit its price target, right? So it would be awesome to see some nice follow through to today's action. And then CSX, just getting started, basically. We're up, about just under 50% on the position. But, we didn't put a huge position on because we didn't have a ton of cash there. We're up, 45% on that. And our profit level 74.75. So still about $1.50 to go, to get to the profit level here for CSX. We do have a time stop, the green time stop coming in on Netflix here tomorrow. So, if Netflix isn't trading up over 303 tomorrow, I will have to pull it off. Ideally we'll see it trading over 303 tomorrow and be able to pull off partial and ride the rest back up to 330, 340, wherever it decides it may want to go. Okay, so that's the challenge. Not making any changes there. Was asked about Micron earlier today. We talked about Micron. Micron last week. I had to get out for the challenge. It just hit our stops, and okay, moving on out. But then in the afternoon, I talked about, hey, I want to be a buyer of it. I'm going to be buying, into the close, and I want to buy calls on it, given this price pattern and given the catalysts that are upcoming here this week. And I did do that. Today I did pull off half the position, decided to let the rest run. I don't know. It could go anywhere from here. This is one where we could see it, break out into new highs. We could see a crater. There's a million different possibilities, there with it. Overall, the technicals still look pretty solid, but that's how I decided to go about and deal with that. Now, this weekend, Michelle forwarded me a question from support asking about, my thoughts on the U.S. political situation that is going on right now. So I'll make a quick comment here on it, but right now we see a lot of Democrat, Republican fighting here in the U.S. and, pretty much over the impeachment proceedings that the Democrats are trying to go after against President Trump. And it's kind of a circus. My one brother who rarely follows politics can't keep his eyes off it, and he equated it, last week to me, equated it to a sporting event. Basically said it just feels like that to him. I said, well, more power to you. Bottom line, from a market standpoint, it doesn't weigh or factor into any decisions that I'm going to make. I don't care. I know that the different parties have really strong beliefs and really strong opinions one way or the other, and I'm not, and I'm in no position to argue either side or say one is right, one is wrong, or one's better for the market or one's worse for the market. But when we look at the market, stalemate in Washington tends to equal bullish market for stocks. That's the historical tendency. And, do we have some stalemate in Washington? Yeah, a little bit, right? And so, yes, could things change? Sure. Will we get a day where all of a sudden the market wakes up and it's really happy or really grumpy? Sure. We're going to get those, but, that can happen on anything. But from just a market standpoint in the impeachment proceedings, yeah, corner of my eye on them, but not something that I'm using to make any sort of decision because it's just, in terms of importance or in terms of the expected outcome, unless you're really kind of, uber Republican or uber Democrat, if you're kind of middle of the road, the expected outcome's pretty neutral, right? You're not really expecting too much, and obviously that could change, and there's a lot of hyperbole and rhetoric around it all, just like there is with anything political. But from just a market standpoint, it has zero to do with the challenge. And, when I'm out there and I'm trading and I'm, looking at the investments that I like, it has zero weight, here for me when it comes down to that stuff. Okay. All right. So market itself, MarketVibe, we still see it trading bullish. We still see a bullish signal on it. We did see a small dip on the MarketVibe last week. It stayed bullish, and then popped back up a little bit on Friday. We continue to see it bullish here today, and the bullish percent index continuing to rise, each and every day. We have seen a position here in the market where The number of stocks trading above the 7-day moving average has kind of been in this kind of not too hot, not too cold range, and we're still there. This isn't overbought. This isn't overextended. 357. That's a pretty kind of just, solid bull market number where you're not expecting monster up days, but you're not expecting monster down days, and path of least resistance to the upside. And if we look at the number of stocks trading above the 20, it's the same thing. It's overall the conditions, and there we go look at all the other conditions, but the conditions continue to favor the bulls. The bulls have almost all the advantages out there, from sectors to caps to global markets. I mean, you take a look at semiconductors, and they just keep going to new highs, which tends to be very bullish for many months to come. When semiconductors hit new highs, we almost always see stocks, follow, and we are seeing stocks hit new highs here right now. But semiconductors, they tend to be a little bit of a leader, and they continue to kind of lead the way, higher here for the market. All right, so bullish market. We do have a bearish signal on Pepsi, bullish signal there on IBM. Neither am I going to trade for the challenge, but simply because there is no cash. But holding CSX and holding Netflix here into the close, and we'll see what tomorrow brings here with them. Thanks for hopping on. Thanks for being with us here at Trader Minute. Have yourselves a fantastic evening, and we'll talk to you tomorrow morning. Take care.